You're tuning in to the Bueno Power Hour podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Bueno Power Hour podcast. I'm your host, Arthur Bueno. And this episode, I am going solo. It's going to be kind of a new segment I'm going to be doing where I talk about my musical influences, specifically in the local scene. And I think this is actually a kind of a cool thing. Because it gives me kind of a chance to sort of talk about some of that local music gold that people have not yet discovered or are going to be able to kind of reflect on. And this is actually kind of an exciting podcast for me because I get to just talk about whatever. Excuse me. And I guess we'll just go right into it and sort of just, start the background of the local music scene that I was part of. So I'm going to kind of just talk about various bands, and I will be targeting on each episode of this type of podcast, I'll be talking about one specific band and why they were such a big influence to me. It's cool because back where I used to live in Lemoore, California. Lemoore, California, it's actually a really, really, really small town. It's crazy. It was near, it is near a Naval Air Station base. And the surrounding areas of Fresno, Visalia, Hanford, Bakersfield, Orosi, Delano, like all these different types of parts, they all surround Lemoore. And Lemoore was such a weird place to live because the thing is that at that time, punk, hardcore, emo, math rock, all these different genres of music, at least for me, was just emerging. And there was a time where local shows were happening. People were promoting bands at specific nights. On a weekend or something, and it was just so damn cool. Local promoters would come in and put bands on a bill, and sometimes those bands wouldn't even show up. You know what I mean? It was kind of crazy. Plenty of house shows had happened in the Hanford area, not so much in Lemoore. I remember Lemoore being like at this bar, and we used to have like a bunch of metal bands play here, or play there at least. And the scene was just flooded with cool shit. I can even remember one particular place I played at. I used to be in a cover band called Grayish July, and it's so funny me talking about this because this was actually developed because I was a big fan, along with the others were a big fan of the band Finch, and all we did was just play Finch covers, and we had like one original, but it gave me a chance to sort of play on stage and play in front of people. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun playing those covers, to tell you the truth. I worked really hard to learn some of those songs. Anyway, so Man, this is so cool to talk about. I'm not even joking. Um, so just based on like what I had just said, the community of musicians and bands that were around Lemoore and Hanford were pretty. Their skill sets were just so high. They were big contributions of the music scene. Hanford, especially to me, at least. I didn't even know about these bands until I met, a few friends in high school who sort of got me, acquainted with this kind of scene and, just start seeing these shows. And I remembered watching crazy amount of bands at that time that were coming from Fresno, Visalia, and even like down south of California, man, around like San Diego, LA, I believe, that they were coming around. But I think what started me off, kind of learning about, the style of like music that I listen to till this day, playing in like a punk math rock band and these twinkly emo math rock bands I was in. There's one specific band that sort of inspired me to. Well, it's not really sort of. They actually did inspire me to play this like kind of. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. This is very. There's a lot of like melody kind of driven, but hardcore-esque style of guitar playing that I still can't even figure out. And so I actually had a chance to kind of like get to know some of the guys. One of them in particular was Tommy McCarthy, and Tommy McCarthy is actually a big influence guitar-wise. He had such weird and interesting angles. I think that's probably the best way to describe his guitar work. Is very angular. I don't know if that's a good description, but he looked at the guitar a little bit differently, and it was so funny how he was playing in this band that I'm going to kind of describe right now. He played a BC Rich. And he was playing these math rock style music. And if you guys followed me from first episode till now, Daniel Dominguez is a big fan of this band as well as I am. And in fact, he actually remixed or sampled some of their songs on the second EP. This band called Peel Apparition. He actually used some of these songs to sample for one of his songs to rap over. And to let you guys know, Daniel Dominguez is also a beat maker. Aside from being, a hardcore frontman for the band Farouk, he is also a rapper and a beat maker. So you guys should check him out. Daniel is like pretty amazing. Anyway, so this band called Peel Apparition, and Peel Apparition was a band that came from Hanford. I don't really know much of their history. And their history to me is like me seeing them play these really weird songs at a barnyard, and also playing them at some sort of like I don't know, music hall in Lemoore as well. This was kind of crazy, but Peel Apparition for me. What got me into them was listening to their first EP and their second EP. Their first EP, most definitely. So you kind of got to understand, like, at the time, people could not record real high quality, music. They didn't really have the production that we have now. Like I have here, a nice Surface, Book laptop and, an interface, and I have all these VSTs I can use to like create music. With them, they had, I don't know, like weird fucking like recording equipment that was like kind of leaning towards the spectrums of analog and digital. You know what I mean? And it's so funny how on the first EP that they released would be the EP I would listen to over and over for years and years. And the thing is that they didn't really name their EPs at all. It was just the first EP, second EP, and the third EP. The third EP, I don't even listen to it because everything kind of just changed. But the first and second EP was the biggest, bodies of work for me as a musician. And I'll tell you why. Because what it meant to me, it meant a lot to me, obviously, because I'm talking about this shit. But it made me kind of think of guitar a little bit differently. And there are some points where their songs are melodic. There's other points where it's dissonant, and it stems from so many different backgrounds of music that I am thinking like they're from hardcore, but they're playing this indie rock style music, and also they have these like cool arpeggiated like licks, man, and it just was so fucking weird to me. I don't know why like this shit was so interesting, but I guess what it was is that like I saw them play live and I was just so impressed. Now, the thing with Pure Apparition, all right, is that Pure Apparition's singer wasn't the greatest. He was not the greatest, but the funny thing about the singer on these two EPs is that he had a good like idea of melody and how he would deliver his lyrics to the song. Like it fit. Like these songs could have easily been instrumentals, but he was able to put his vocals into it and actually add something to it. Now, I believe his name is Aaron. Yeah, his name is Aaron. Now, his vocals sound like Tim Kinsella and Cap'n Jazz, but maybe even worse, like, to tell you the truth. But I found a liking to it. It's not for everybody, but I found a liking to it because, goddamn, it made me feel, it just felt like it fit. There was sort of this punkish, hardcore-ish sort of angle to it that I really liked. And so, the cool part about this band is that I got to see them play like 3 times, I believe. I think I saw them play like from afar, and it was just one of the most interesting like sounds I've heard, and I was kind of I don't know what was going on in that time when I could have had a chance to listen to them. But I think the first and the real like time that I got a chance to just sit down and listen to this band, or at least like witness this band in a full performance, was actually in Lemoore at this music hall. I forgot what it was called, man. The music hall itself. It was actually next to a library, Lemoore Library, and it was funny because in this roster of bands that was listed, it was Terra, Taco, Pure Apparition, I believe Dead Elizabeth, and some other like acts that I don't even remember. I remember that day because I had to take my friend home because it was actually getting late, and we had to leave to go take my friend home in Tulare. It was a night that I could never forget because I actually got to see the band that I wanted to see. But in his performance with Peel, I witnessed Tommy McCarthy, and Tommy McCarthy to me at that time was like one of the guitarists. Like I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to learn how to play those licks. And Peel, I mean, they did it, man. It was just like there was like a select few of us that were watching them play the show, because like, you know, and even till to this day, you know, the scene. Well, I don't know about now because I'm old and I don't really know what the scene is like these days. But people didn't really have a liking of different genres of music. You know, if it was either if you were into metal, you were into hardcore, or you into indie rock. And you know, as time developed, people were able to appreciate all those genres and kind of like them for what they are. You know what I mean? And so there were a few folks that I remembered were just there, just listening to them play, watching them just like rip, you know, and I was just like, God damn, this shit's so cool, dude. It's so fucking cool. You know, and it's just one of those things about this band that I just appreciated the most about them. And they just had the melody, the different time signatures, the sort of the stop and go kind of like, you know, structures and such. It was kind of chaotic. And I'll actually I'll preview maybe about 2 songs actually on this podcast. I'll probably do 2 of them. So yeah, let's do a music break here. So for this first song that I'm gonna show you, or I'm gonna present to you, this one is called "Crossing the Arctic," and it's actually on their first EP that they've released. So yeah, enjoy. So that was "Crossing the Arctic" with Peel Apparition, and I know it's kind of a weird song. I guess it was labeled as their MTV song because it was a little bit more groovier than the rest of the EP. So yeah, so that particular song, I used to listen to that one and quite a bit, and it was I don't know what it was, dude, but it made me feel something. and it was just like so aggressive for no reason. You know what I mean? It was just like, what the fuck, man? Like, why is this so cool? You know, that's what it was. It was just fucking cool, man. You know, um, so those you know the four songs that was on that EP, that one in particular I listened to quite a bit, and you know, that's one thing that I loved about of Peel, is that it was kind of short and sweet, at least for this first EP that they released. And you know, it just was, it was just one of those types of like music that was just not for everybody, and people were just not, they were just kind of just confused. You know what I mean? They were really confused, like what the fuck is going on. And that kind of got me interested in listening to other bands that were out there. And, you know, before I knew it, like, because of them, they sort of allowed me to kind of understand what it's like out there, like what bands are out there. I think one of the references that Peel had made, I think especially Tommy McCarthy, was that they were influenced by the band Volta du Mar. Now, Volta du Mar was really, really huge in my life. I got to actually meet the guitarist Phil. He was playing in this band called Oso, and I don't think they do shit anymore. But yeah, it sounded like Mahavishnu Orchestra, and it was certainly something that I was really getting into at the time. It was two bassists, guitarists, and a drummer. There was a 6-string bassist, a 4-string bassist, guitarist, and drums, all instrumental. So, you know, because of them, and, you know, obviously the people that I've met at the time, I began to kind of, you know, search for this style of music that I never had thought existed, you know. And it was so funny how, you know, because of them, I actually got a chance to play in a band with people who were involved with that scene that, you know, Peel was a part of, and this band that I used to be in called Winter Soldier. And Winter Soldier was certainly a unique band for what it was. I only got a chance to contribute one song for them, and you know, I played with them for 4 years. I didn't really have a lot of ideas to provide for them, and, you know, the members that, you know, that were part of Winter Soldier, it was like kind of changing quite a bit. They've already created, you know, this body of work and stuck with it for so many years. It was just like, wow, we did a lot of, you know, we did a lot with it. It was a lot of changes to it, but they helped me to kind of you know, kind of learn how to play this type of guitar that I play now, especially Nathan Swift, you know, especially Chris Constantine. Now, Nathan Swift is certainly my second favorite guitarist. He doesn't know it, but him and Chris, I guess him and Chris are kind of like in the same boat. They were such a big influence in my playing, and they're one of the reasons why I play today. But yeah, I mean, Peel Apparition was certainly a band that, you know, helped me to kind of get going with this sort of journey. And in fact, let me play another song for you. I don't even remember what the name of this song is, but I believe it's not Calling All Cars. It has to be I don't even remember, but I'll post it up. It's actually their first song off their second EP. So I'm gonna go and roll it and have you enjoy that. So yeah, give this one a listen. If it's all
It's hard to change, or it's a race to place, but you can never stop the speed of time. Standing up as it takes you with me. Gotta rise and take your age and feel my life go through your veins. Up in your feeling starts, pain will subside. I've got the time till we start changing. I push you on to stop the ground, but legs were too grown now. Look alive, it's just the same. Love your life, my journey. Fall for the summer's waning. They're fitting them. Despondent measurements sewing. Whisper them softly past the gate. If you just realize your dangers, only what you made it, then you can never drink it down. And if you did, you'd say, where are the hands that fed me? Where are the hands that fed me? What is inside to fight you? Do this fight that you break. Let it go drifting away. Let's lay it alive again, my friend, and pull yourself to shore. The sacrifice is my heart. The sacrifice is what's got you ready. The despondent measurements sewing. Fall of your lover's silence. Can we conceive escape? This night is taking your queen. So tell me who's winning. And living it all the cherry. Elspeth, oh, Sunday.
So that was the first song of their second EP, and I definitely have, kind of listening to that again. It was actually kind of cool. It reminded me as to why they were such freaking geniuses to me. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, man. I mean, those arpeggios, those. The melodies are actually there. They're thinking about the structure of the song a little tighter. It's a little more together, at least for me. And obviously with Aaron's vocals, it was too much for certain people. They couldn't really hang. But I gained a liking for it because it was just like it kind of fit. If it was a good singer playing all, if it was a good singer that was in that band for that EP, then I probably wouldn't have liked it as much as I do now. Because now, especially in the indie rock scene, you don't really have to have like a great voice. You just have to be in key. And yeah, that was certainly something that like I had definitely, I had definitely taken a liking of after like listening to it repeatedly and stuff. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Really, PL Apparition was a big influence, and they still continue to be, because they really play some really interesting shit at the time. And this is from Hanford. This is from Hanford, California, and these dudes were obviously they're like influenced by such a great I guess collective of works. They were so influenced by hardcore and all this different types of indie rock and shit, and it was just so nice, man. It was just so nice to kind of hear something so much more different than like I've ever heard before. And it led me to some really interesting bands, after the years, after those early years. It just was like, wow, like I can't believe this music fucking existed. And yeah, I guess that will conclude this episode of the Bueno Power Hour podcast. I'm going to be doing uploads every 2 weeks instead of every week. And this will kind of help me sort of gather up material and sort of help me kind of, try to get more interviews in. I'm still working on a couple and seeing if they have time for me in their busy schedules. But other than that, I'll keep continuing on with these, local music inspirational segments in this podcast. Guys, thank you for sticking around. I hope you actually enjoyed the Arthur Robinson interview from last time. Really great dude, and I hope that you guys were definitely enjoyed that. I'll be having more interviews here pretty soon. Just give me some time, and I'm gonna make it happen. So yeah, guys.